What's up, interwebs? Welcome back to my Mickomoo session. This is part 2 of my things that go Thwomp level, so building level. So before you saw I was building level around the concept of Thwomp elevators. This is a continuation of that. Right now I'm just testing out the level. And by the way, this is part 2, so if you didn't see part 1, you're going to want to go back. It's in the description, and I'm probably going to add an annotation here, so click on either. Now, from between part 1 and part 2, I did a little bit of work, so the level was about more fluid. Before, you kind of saw me running with the idea. Now, one thing I do regret is when I was playtesting this, I wasn't really thinking like a player. I was thinking in terms of the way I developed the level. Like, as you can see here, having that giant Thwomp up there as a sort of a lowering block was kind of stupid. Especially considering that there's an alternate route you can take. You can either, as I showed you in the first video, this is where I'm kind of learning what is and is not acceptable for a player. So having a giant Koopa land on you from nowhere is not fun. Definitely not good level design. And I realized that immediately, so I'm kind of glad about that. But as I was saying, this level actually presents a lot of alternate routes, and it's something that I historically, I don't want to say historically because it makes it seem like it's been a long time, but actually, you know what, it kind of has. You know, as a gamer, I'm not going to say I'm the most observant gamer, but it's definitely a problem. I kind of think very linearly in terms of designing levels, but the thing is, by the way, that giant Thwomp up there doesn't make the cut. I got rid of it in the final cut because it's kind of, I wanted to have a sense of surprise. I think I said in the first part of this video, there was a level, Rumble Ruins. It was really interesting how the Thwomps played a role in creating suspense and surprise throughout the level. There's another level like that. It's called, I think, Bomb Castle, and again in that level you have bombs like breaking parts of the level, and it kind of adds a layer of suspense and surprise to the level. Now this area there's a still Thwomp because you can't lure the Thwomp down. You're too far from the ground or from whatever to have it fall. So it's basically a static Thwomp that is in its own secret area, I guess. And I put some goodies here to kind of entice the player to come here. It's an invisible block though, so what the player will see it as is basically an alternate route. Instead of going all the way through, all the way up and around there where the Thwomps are, the player can kind of cut across here. So in that way, the player is incentivized to move faster here, and if they're curious, and I mean, it should be roughly they hit the invisible block when they land, they'll get a reward for taking this route because it's kind of harder. And in a minute here, you'll see me add some fireballs to make it even more harrowing. For me, I'm learning there's definitely there needs to be a balance between like ease of access and difficulty. So if you have a route like this that makes things shorter, it definitely should not make things easier. I'm not saying you should make things infinitely harder, but simply having, you know, goodies here and Thwomps with there's no risk-reward ratio here if there's no difficulty. And obviously I can't add enemy because, I mean, you can't really fight anything on the Thwomp. That'd be really not only annoying, but it'd be very difficult and frustrating. Whereas, you know, the lava balls, there's lava below, so I think thematically it fits. And the other thing is also just that you can see that it's a pattern. It's sort of something that is, you know, observable, it's watchable. So it adds some level of difficulty without it being too much of a deterrent. But then again, only players who are willing to take the risk reward are going to get rewarded, so to speak. And I'm kind of proud of myself because I think I added a second layer of lava balls, and I learned, you know, that they should all have alternate timing. So it kind of makes it so you can kind of you have to jump differently. You have to time your jump basically. I'm really bad at pattern recognition, and by that I mean like, you know, sort of assessing what would be a good interval for things like lava balls to be at. And I guess it's one of those skills that you kind of have to develop, because it's not like the lava balls say, you know, what time they are active or whatever. So I think the third lava ball actually doesn't come up that high though, so it's sort of like a fake out because you can kind of stand right there and not be in trouble. So this is roughly the halfway point of the level, and this is where I stopped designing. So I added this between part 1 and part 2 just to see where my ideas were going. I added Koopas because, one, there are Koopas in the beginning of the level, so it's thematically correct. If there's one thing I can't stand, and I'm guilty of this, it's having levels in which you have there's no theme. You have enemies from different groups all together, and you sort of want to create like in music you have a refrain, you have something that you come back to. The Thwomps obviously are that in this level, like hands down. That's like the most obvious refrain, obviously. Let's use the same word twice. But there needs to be a little coloring to that. So there are Koopas in this level, and they're the enemies in this level that are not the Thwomps. They're dry bones too, and the good thing is winged Koopas and winged dry bones are both good platforms. So just like the Thwomps, they actually provide a challenge in terms of timing your jumps and aligning yourself, whatnot. And I don't think it's too hard. I mean, I've never really played. I think I mentioned this before. I never really played a Mario game all the way through. I'm not really a completionist. It's kind of a shame to admit that. But from what I remember, some Nintendo levels have you making some jumps on Koopas, not like a ton. It's not like a Kizaria, or even there's a ROM hack I played very early in my channel's life called not Super Mario, but Mario Ninja Insanity, and that entire game is just you jumping on flying Koopas, like with no checkpoints, no reprieve, no anything. So it's not like that, but this definitely is a precision challenge. Here's me seeing what I can get away with. I wanted to see if you can grab, and I mean this is stupid. Obviously you can't. I wanted to reward the player with a helmet, and you know obviously it didn't make any sense because you can't pick up helmets on Thwomps. You'll get killed. I don't even think you could. Even if you could, the surface area is not enough to actually stand on it and grab the shell, so it didn't matter. Then I wanted sort of like a surface for you to sort of jump towards. So if you put like a spike top or a spiky turtle on a Thwomp, if it covers the surface area, it kind of forces you to aim your jump properly, like I'm failing to do in this test run here. But ultimately, I dispose of the spike top because it just doesn't fit. It doesn't work. What I do is it's actually a spiky turtle. I call it a spike top. What I do, what I end up doing is I put a spike top. I put a spike top that's blue, I think. Yeah, I'm deciding what I want to do. Yeah, blue spike top. I don't actually know what the difference is between the spike tops. And the reason why I don't have it on the actual Thwomp is because the problem is if you put it on top of the Thwomp, it's static. It won't move. It's locked in on top of the Thwomp, so it can't rotate around the body of the Thwomp. I wanted the spike top to run around the Thwomp like what it's doing now, but you can't have that if you lock it into place. I don't know what. So the stacking mechanic activates when you put a spike top on top of the Thwomp. I mean, of course it would, because when you put an enemy on top of an enemy, it stacks. But I really wish there was a way to alternate like if an enemy was to stack, because a Thwomp is, to me, is not like it's not a traditional enemy. It's like a platform almost. It's basically a block that attacks you. So I kind of wish you had sort of different stacking mechanics with Thwomps. Here I'm kind of testing, what should be the next progression. And you see, I'm kind of hesitantly adding layers to this level because I didn't want it to just be the reindeer level to be just you're jumping from platform to platform. I mean, like, that's pretty, I guess, mundane. I don't know, for lack of a better word. I don't know what else to say. So I'm kind of hesitantly putting a divider here, kind of like feeling out what should be the next thing here. One thing I will say is I kind of wish the lava wasn't here, but I chose a castle theme because it just fit with the Thwomps. Now, mind you, this is actually a week before the March 9th update. I'm actually uploading this really, really late. I think it's April now, so that's the reason why there's no skewers, there's no keys, there's no nothing. I just wanted the level, even if I mean, because I'm uploading level in April, I don't really want to use any of the new assets, so I'm kind of keeping my my cool, so to speak. I tried Flying Goomba. I forgot Flying Goombas need a surface to be on in order to operate. The same thing with Flying Green Turtles. They're both Koopa Troopas. I don't know what they call. I mean, I mentioned this before. I call the red ones Paratroopas and the green ones Koopa Troopas because that's what Mario Kart. That's what Mario Kart Double Dash does. So here I'm testing out what is a viable platform, how close does the Thwomp have to be to jump to it, etc., etc. I just wanted to see the Thwomp fall, which I got it too, so that's good. Now, unlike, I guess, the first area, even though there has to be platforms here, you can't really cut through here. There's no way to cut through, so that's a good thing. I didn't put the dividers up for that reason, but they definitely help in making the level much more, for lack of a better word, linear. Because I kind of at this point wanted to force the player into doing certain things, just so the level could be consistent. But that wasn't my intention when I put up the dividers. So here I get experimental. I have a flying spike top. And this is where I learned the spike tops that fly are actually moving platforms. Really cool. Really, really, really fell in love with the idea of having spike tops. Now this doesn't make it into the final level. I put a pipe here and it kind of doesn't make any sense. I wanted you to use the flying paratrooper, the flying spike top here to come down in the surface here. But I mean, that is really elaborate and it doesn't make any sense. And when I thought about it, I gave it the old Nyx, just cut it out because it was kind of roundabout. The other thing too is this is borderline a leap of faith because you can't see the bottom, and the platforms are actually not aligned. If they were, you wouldn't be able to fall in. So it's one of those things that's just like it wasn't a good, I guess, level design choice at the time. But in this video, I kept it for the time being. I kept it. I said this before. What I do is after I record these, I go behind myself, give myself a few days to look at the level. If it's a level that I'm serious about treating well. Recently, this is in April. Last week I made a level. I'm gonna delete it. I'm not really happy with the level. I'm not really fond of the level. So, and I didn't record a Mickomoo mix for that. So, So again, this is the pipe. The pipe's gonna have flying spike tops, and they're gonna be a platform. The idea here is the remainder of the level is gonna be you riding the spike top. Now, to be fair, and this is a point I mentioned earlier, I did not preface the spike top, which is kind of, I guess, hypocritical for lack of a better word. There's no refrain, there's no coming to it. It just sort of appears in this part of the level. So it's something I'm disappointed with. But in the final version of this level, which is, you won't see this in this video, what I end up doing is I use the spike tops as a means of providing a platform for the thwomps to fall on. So how this works is basically you'll see a spike top and you'll see a thwomp, and the entire point is to get the thwomp to fall right as the spike top is flying underneath it, thus providing you a way to ride the thwomps. You can conversely, you can ride the spike tops while dodging the thwomps. That's much harder, but it's possible if you want to challenge yourself. Here's a point where I'm kind of gauging how much further I had to design the level. At this point in my mind, I'm kind of lazy. I'm like, hey, let me use the spike top itself as a platform, and there'll be really no obstacles other than you riding the spike top all the way to whatever end. Now, mind you, there is an ending, so like there are gonna be obstacles at the end. There's gonna be a boss. It's not a mandatory boss fight, obviously, because I mean, even with say a key, you know, like there's no reason to have a door if you're at the end of the level. So it's not gonna be a mandatory boss fight, but it's gonna be one of those things you have to kind of work your way around. So here I'm just testing out how much further or how long you have to ride a spike top to get to the end here. Turns out pretty freaking far, actually. Not much to say about that. So I build a platform here, and this is sort of where you prepare yourself to take on the final boss. It's a Bowser Jr. battle with no clown car. Sorry, I blanked there. I don't know why I blanked there, but there's no clown car. It's just you and Bowser Jr. fighting one another, and there's a thwomp. You can use the thwomp to kill Bowser Jr., as you'll see, but it's mainly about luring the thwomp to break the axe to kill Bowser Jr. So I've always wondered exactly how to design platforms. Like here you see me making a stairwell, and I'm not exactly sure why I did that. I think it's because it's leading to the final boss, so it's sort of like a descending sort of theme or motif or whatever. But in general, I mean, it's just kind of weird when you think about it. Like, how do you know what shape to design a platform in? I know in some cases you think about, you know, what kind of jumps you want the character to make, or however your character progresses. But in general, it just didn't come naturally to me. I'm sort of just flinging my finger around the screen. So anyway, this is you have a choice here. You can ride the spike top here to a higher level or a lower level. What I mean by that is I'm gonna put a thwomp towards the top here once you get to the end, and you get to choose if you want to ride the thwomp up to the top here, or you want to stay at the bottom and just sort of go on the boss fight. No, I think I do put goodies in both locations, so you have a choice of, you know, question blocks in a certain area or question blocks in another area. It just comes down to what you want. So there's a thwomp right there. And there's a platform for the thwomp. And I go back to test exactly how that works. Oh, clumsy me. Okay, so testing again. So right, yeah. And that's what I'm talking about when I say the thwomp can use the spike top as a platform. I think this is where I got the idea, actually. So this is where I designed the power-ups or the items that you'll get in this area. I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to put here, but I guess I wanted to put do a fire flower. I remember it was actually a conditional fire flower. I think I might have put fire flowers in both areas. There's coins, I guess, there. And now we're in the lower area. Yeah, I decided to erase that upper bound there because it was sort of limiting. I think the reason I had that there is because originally this level was supposed to be a maze. Actually, the original conception was that you would ride the Thwomps to the correct layers of the maze, but that turned out to be way too convoluted to make, and the Thwomps don't actually move in different directions. So I kind of made such an idea sort of I don't want to say moot because it wasn't. It's doable. It's definitely doable, but it's just not going to be very easy to make. And I'm still sort of at the stage where I'm kind of figuring out what I can, at this point, do with Mario Maker myself with my current skill set and my current level design know-how and whatnot. But the other thing was that the Thwomp maze also wouldn't function the way I wanted it to because of the limitations of Mario Maker. So that's just you know, one of the things I was thinking about. So now we have the lower platform here completed. Here's me trying out. Here's me trying out a Koopa. I didn't like the idea, so it didn't make the final cut, definitely. Yeah, I didn't even play test that. So we come back to the motif, for lack of a better word, of the giant Thwomp. There's one at the beginning of the level and the one at the end of the level now. So it's like a bookend. And then create a boss fight, so that's pretty much it. So now I'm designing the area that isolates the boss fight from the rest of the level. I didn't want you or the boss to fly off the rails. And then that's pretty much it. I add the boss, which is it was originally gonna be Bowser, but I decided to do Bowser Jr. And that was, you know, and I made him buffed, you know, swole, got him some mushrooms, some wings, and that's pretty much it. This is pretty much the end of the level. I did some other changes, and then I came back to the level later, but that's roughly it. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.